Hello and welcome to Santos on Sports. Feeling pretty good this morning. Alongside Chris Santos, I am Paul Santos. I'm Zappe happy, baby. I'm Zappe happy. But wait a minute. Let's go. Whoa, big fella. Whoa, big fella. We'd like to welcome our sponsors in Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. Citywide Glass with not one, not two, but three locations to serve you in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. Lakeside Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville. And attorney John Seed, our good friend, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. And you can check out his website at johnseedlaw.com. How are you today, Chris?
I'm just as happy as you are, Paul, because out in Los Angeles, a nice win for my Cowboys, a very talented defensive game led by Micah Parsons, and I was quite pleased with, once again, the balance of Cooper Rush just continuing to manage the game like Bailey Zappe did yesterday, and relied on their defense to do what needed to be done. And so a good win by the Cowboys, and like I thought, a good win by the New England Patriots.
Well, I'd like to get your thoughts, so give us a call at 774-762-6234. I got to tell you, and I'm looking at the Lions, right? Yep. And I know a lot of people will say, well, they won that game because the Lions are terrible, right? Well, yeah, I mean, the Lions are kind of frauds, especially offensively, but almost beat the Eagles, right? Lost to the Eagles 38-35, the undefeated Eagles, I might say. Let's see, the Vikings, Vikings are a middling kind of a team. They almost beat them, almost beat the Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks are kind of struggling. So this isn't a team that, every week they get blown out. I mean, they're at least as good as the Steelers. And that Steelers game, like the Patriots played really like crap in that game and just barely snuck by with a win. So I'm looking at Mr. Zappe over here, and we're not trying to start anything here, well, maybe we are, but I'm looking out in the field and I'm like, I don't know. I know it's the Lions. I mean, I watched them against Green Bay. I know they established the run. They didn't ask him to do a lot, but I look at him out there and I see the decision making that he's making, and I understand that the protection is better because you got the weakest defense in the league. Detroit has the weakest defense in the league, but certainly Green Bay didn't have the weakest defense in the league. But he just kind of, follows what they say, tries to cooperate with the coaches and stuff like that. And, I heard an interview with Bill Belichick this morning on WEEI Live, and they asked him, of course, they had to ask him that question, could you ever see a scenario by which Zappe would go in ahead of Mac Jones? And, of course, we knew Bill wasn't going to answer it, but he did say something like, well, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, Mac wasn't available, so I didn't have to make a decision like that, so I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. But he didn't say, no, I don't. So I'm looking at the schedule, right? Okay, the Browns, they're decent, but suppose Zappe goes out there and wins 4 or 5 in a row. Do you look out there, and I know you said before, he's the third string guy for a reason, right? Yeah. You said that last week. He's the third. It's not like he's the third string guy for the heck of it. He's a third string guy for a reason, right?
Right.
But do you look out there and do you see like this big difference, like this huge difference between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappe when you're watching the game? Because I have a hard time seeing a huge difference.
Well, I'm not going to judge just by one game, Paul. And again, I don't think Detroit is one of the elite teams in the NFL.
Well, yeah, Green Bay too.
Yeah, true. And he only played, sparingly in that one as well. So kind of still a little bit early for me to kind of get an idea. But I did like the game plan of the New England Patriots. 17 for 21, 188 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. And even the interception wasn't his fault. That's Aguilar, who once again muffs up another one. But at the same time, they started off very conservatively. They did what they needed to do. As the game went on, I thought he took more risks and started to unleash and throw the ball more down the field. But at the same time, he kept everything to the outside, and he kept the game under control. And that's what you want to do with a third-string quarterback or someone who's getting their first NFL start. And you manage the game. Now, again, it's not the elite in defense in Detroit. And I've said that from the beginning. And I said the same thing about their offense. I don't think Detroit is that good offense. They did play some game. Even the Eagles game, they were down. And most of them points they scored was my garbage points toward the end of the game to get a couple of touchdowns there. So I'm not too high on Detroit. But that being said, yeah, I think it was a good game to settle him in, to get him really going in this offense. It was nice to see him. I love the red uniforms. I love the big logo of the Pat in the middle of the field. Thought that was great. Just looking something that Bill says, hey, I need to change the atmosphere around here, get things rolling again, see what I can do. So they pulled out all the stops, and they did what they needed to do. But basically, Paul, to me, defense won this ball game, and their run game won this ball game. And Harris getting hurt, we'll have to see what happens with him. Got a little, I believe it was a hamstring injury. But Stevenson, who I really like, and I've told you this before, he is a hard runner, and he carries people after he gets hit, and he is solid. And a performance of 25 for 161 for averaging 6.4. Pretty impressive to watch him run the ball yesterday and kind of keep things under control for Zappe, and to say, hey, I can always go back to this if I needed to. But to me, it was all the defense that really got this game where they wanted it and how they needed to go. Remember, they didn't really score much in the first quarter. They didn't do much in the second quarter. They got more in halftime, but it was the defense that kept them in check and kept them right where they wanted to be in that first half.
Yeah, and how about the play of Matthew Judon? What a great game he had. How about the play of Jack Jones, who really is looking great in that corner position? The linebackers all did very well. They put a lot of pressure on the Detroit quarterback. And again, look, Detroit is Detroit. They, you had said how, they're not really as good as they say, but I'm looking at a couple of teams that they played tough against. I mean, it wasn't like, teams are going out there and putting up zeros against them either. So, to me, I thought the defense really stepped it up, like you said. And of course, that makes it a lot easier for the offense.
Well, they had an interception. They had a strip sack, scoop, and score. 2 sacks. I thought the other one, too, was that, if you remember, Detroit was 0 for 6 in 4th down attempts. That hasn't happened since 1995 in the NFL, that a team went 0 for 6 in one game. And so, remember, Detroit had it hanging around because it was only field goals at the beginning, so they were there, but the defense just did not let Jared Goff get settled at all. They had him moving around. He was running for his life out there at times. And give Judon and the rest of the team a lot of credit.
All right, what do you think? 774-762-6234. Give us a call here on Santos on Sports. All right, so, this whole thing about everybody getting all excited about the quarterback controversy. Yep. I mean, obviously, it's early. That's one game, maybe a game and a half. Fans tend to caught up in the hype of it all. Sure. You're looking out there and you're like, I kind of like the way this guy's throwing the ball around. And, they did ask Belichick in an interview this morning about Zappe. And, of course, Bill was trying to be guarded about it. But he's like, hey, he works hard. He's smart. He sees the field well. And actually, when he said he saw the field well, the first thing I thought of was when you and I were texting, I said, hey, Chris, I think he sees the field well, So when Belichick said the same thing I said, I felt good. I felt like, hey, Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, is saying the same thing I'm saying. Although you said it's easy to see the field when you're playing against the worst defense in the league. Well, that's true. But he pointed out, like, hey, during the week, a couple of things came up that they noticed. And then the coaches corrected him, and he it almost sounded like they liked the way he was buying in. Yeah. And you got to worry about Mac Jones, because Mac Jones kind of pushed back a little bit against the coaches. And so, if this guy is a good soldier and does everything he's supposed to do, and they keep winning, you never know. You could have some kind of controversy with the quarterbacks.
Well, and let's not forget what happens if Mac still has some time off and Brian Hoyer actually gets back before Mac Jones. Does that mean Brian Hoyer now goes in front of Zappe? Remember, he was number 2, and he was the one who started against Green Bay. So, you're looking at not just one guy, you're looking at 2 guys that you have to pass. So, to me, I think you really have to perform and step up really, really high in favor of the entire coaching staff to not only take Hoyer, but to take Mac as well. So he's not only dealing with one, Paul, he's dealing with 2.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I can't see Hoyer going back in there if we continue to have this kind of game. You know what I mean? If you have to make the decision between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappe, that's one thing. But Hoyer coming in there with some of the issues that he had. I know he's a veteran and everything else, and he does a pretty good job moving the ball down the field, but he tends to make a bad decision at the wrong moment. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think Hoyer is going to go back in there if Zappe continues to win.
Well, again, like I said, I think it's just too early to tell on the Zappe. Now, obviously, the next one is the big one for me because if he gets the start in Cleveland, number one, it's a road game, and that's always important. You're not home; you're playing on the road where you're a little bit more uncomfortable. Number two, you're playing, I think, a little bit better team than Detroit, so that will be number two. And then it depends how the offense rallies around him on the road. Compared to home. But he did look comfortable yesterday, which is always nice to see. Had a nice little hook up there for seven catches for 111 yards for 15.9 and a touchdown from their leading receiver, Myers. So to see that hook up with someone, that's always nice to get going as well. So I think the next one will really put into perspective, okay, is this the guy that we can say, hey, maybe we can, start him instead of Mac if we don't think it's right, or at the same time, no, maybe he's not ready yet, and we'll get Mac back into the picture. So I think the next one's the big one.
All right, but you're looking at, okay, you saw Mac play against the Steelers, right? Kind of a,
yep.
I don't know, it was just kind of a sloppy kind of a game, obviously the Ravens produced so much problems for the defense that's kind of hard to judge there. But we've seen Mac a couple times, and we've seen this kid for at least a game and a half. It really doesn't feel like Mac's here and the other kid's down here, though. You know what I'm saying? Don't you agree with that?
No, I agree with that. I mean, and in fact, it was kind of funny because I had a couple of my friends over yesterday. Were watching the game, and one of the first things I said, and they said, and they kind of agreed and said, are you seeing a huge difference between the way Mac is throwing and the way Zappe's throwing? Are you seeing less arm strength? Are you seeing happy feet? And they both looked at me and said, gee, they kind of look a lot of similarities in the way they looked out there in the style and the build and everything else. So, there was no huge difference to me, at least in that game. And at the same time, made the right decisions. So they look like they're good thinkers out there, the both of them, when they are playing. But I just don't think it's a controversy yet. It could be, but I don't think yet.
I thought he, a couple of times kind of moved around in the pocket a little bit, stepped up this way, stepped forward, stepped to the right, stepped to the left. And a couple of times he took off running, and I'm like, wow, he looks like he has a little bit of zip when he's running the ball there.
Zippy Zappe.
Well, I don't know. Is he a little bit faster than Mac Jones? I don't know. It just felt like it to me. Maybe I was looking at this whole thing through some kind of like rose-colored glasses or something.
Well, you have that alarm clock in the back of your head, and when it's time to take off, and you say, man, I got to get out of here. And some guys want to sit there a little bit longer and say, no, I can make this play, like Ben Roethlisberger used to do. Even Rodgers tries to do it, and things like that. So, there's different designs and there's different mentality for each quarterback. So it just depends on how you feel at that particular time. But if you're getting away and you're picking up first downs, or you're getting close and you're moving the chains, that's all you can ask for in a quarterback. And so make the right decisions, and hopefully he can continue to do that in these next, which I talked about, Paul, top 4 games right now. What they have to do now at 2-3, look to get the 500 and then keep rolling after that. So these next 3 games, very important for the New England Patriots.
Don Silver is watching this morning. Thank you very much for looking in. Let us know what you think about the game yesterday. Comment or give us a call at 774-762-6234. Chops Turner looking in this morning and saying 49ers all the way. Well, the 49ers are looking pretty good.
Him and that Jimmy G.
Jimmy G, man. Jimmy G.
Listen, there's one thing about Jimmy G, and not a lot of people recognize this. The guy wins. He just finds ways to win. He really does. He's got a great record, very accurate. They run that West Coast, and they everything slants and coming across and delays. but he picks you apart. Yeah, he can make mistakes like anybody else, but he wins games, and they're solid. And I think San Fran will be right there in the playoffs, in the hunt, as long as he stays in there and he's not hurt and banged up. I think he'll lead them back to the playoffs.
It's interesting, right? You're watching the game, and you're looking for a feel of the game, and you see Garoppolo playing. Sometimes he doesn't look like much,
Nope.
but he just keeps winning,
He
right?
just keeps winning. He just does the little things, the right things,
Right.
the intangibles. Occasionally makes an error here and there, but pretty solid overall. And I think Shanahan really sees that. And that's why I thought it was interesting, this controversy about getting Trey Lance. I don't know. I didn't see it at the time when they first did it. I thought Jimmy was the guy and say, hey, he can take us to that next level. Maybe they're looking for someone that, okay, they get us to that next level, but they don't make it to the top. Maybe they're looking for someone and they think Lance could have done that. I still don't see it. I think Jimmy's still the guy down there, and he will continue to ride San Fran as long as he can.
So let's see. Doesn't look like much, but continues to win.
Yes.
Sounds like a guy named Cooper Rush. And it also sounds like a guy like Zappe might be that guy too. But how about that Cooper Rush, man? What is this thing about? Well, we're paying Dak so much money, he has to win there. Do you want to win games, or do you want to just play the guy who makes more money? I say you play the guy you play, we win, you keep playing. That's the way I look at it.
Yes, in one way, yes, I can agree with you that you're finding ways to win ball games. And I said yesterday when I was watching that game, how good sometimes, and even in a Patriots game, how good does a defense make your offense? And I thought both New England and Dallas really stepped up their defensive game and came after Stafford and came after Goff in both games respectively. And it turns it around and says, okay, now we get a good run game. We got a good run game out of Pollard. We got a good run game out of Zeke. And you got a good run game out of Stevenson. So now it makes just things a lot easier when you know that, okay, if we don't make it here, my defense is going to give me the ball back because they're on fire right now. And that's what I like to see. Now, it's tough to contain Cooper Kupp, and he had his breakout route, and he did what he had to do. But I thought we managed the game, controlled it, made Stafford very uncomfortable, which led back to the offense. And then again, Zappe and Rush maintains the game. You're not looking at tremendous stats. He threw for 354, pulled a Josh Allen, threw for 435. You're really not going to see that too often from those guys. But you'd also want to see the turnover, the penalties, all the phases of the game that are working for you. We had a block punt, a lot of good things that went on right, which now leads to more success on the offense as long as you manage the game and do the right things. And I think that's what both Zappe and Rush are doing right now.
All right, give us a shout, 774-762-6234. What do you think of all of the above? And picking up on Chris's point about the defense, Matt Judon last year had that tremendous first half, and then in the second half kind of disappeared a little bit, and then the speculation was that there was something not right. He maybe was hurt or something like that. Well, this is the Matt Judon that we wanted to see this year. And what an impact he's having on the defensive side of the ball, along with a lot of other players too, like Jack Jones and the secondary and stuff like that. But if you can get Matt Judon playing like that, wow, what a big lift that is, not only for the defense, but again, like you said, it spills over to the offense as well. Great game by him.
Yeah, and it makes high-power offense opposite because they're aggressive and they're consistent and they keep coming after you. And all of a sudden you're really this high on offense. They make you all the way down by the end of the game. And that's what they did yesterday because everybody kept talking about, oh, how can they stop St. Brown? How can they get Swift? Goff's been looking great. They're averaging this, and this. And stats to me, yeah, they're nice, but it doesn't really show the outcome of the game and what's been going on during the game. And you could see it yesterday that the Patriots were just the better team. And it started with their defense, and then they led it to the offense when they needed to. And they were just solid in all three phases of the game. And it took Detroit a long time to try to figure out, can we do anything on offense? And they couldn't do it to get anything rolling at all. So a shutout is tremendous for them.
Hey, what'd you make of Jack Jones. I mean, this guy is really playing great for the Patriots.
Yeah, it's funny because it's the one position that I always think that Bill Belichick really does well in drafts or free agencies. He does a good job in the secondary, finding guys, speed, quick, smart, intelligent, knows where the ball is going. He sniffed inside on the play, but then he saw Goff kind of turn his head, and as soon as he did, he went back to the other side, came across, and made that interception. So, very impressed. But Bill seems to find guys for some reason in the secondary that do a good job.
How about those New York Jets? Now, I know they played against Miami. Miami's got the third string quarterback, but we got the third string quarterback too, and we still won our game on the Patriots side, right? So, I still think it's certainly an eyebrow raising thing to see the New York Jets up there. I think they're 3-2, same as Miami. Buffalo, you're never going to catch, but Patriots are still looking up at both the Jets and Miami. But, we have the Jets twice in the next, I think, 5 games, right? So at the beginning of the year, when we were trying to figure out that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a loss. I don't know. That game is starting to hey, Patriots should beat the Jets both of those times as far as I'm concerned. But still, that Jets team is not the automatic weak, steamroll over them like they used to be. So even those games aren't pieces of cake like we would have thought at the beginning of the season.
No, and I'll start with yesterday's. When you go into a game, Paul, you're on the road. You have your second quarterback in the game in Teddy Bridgewater. You have a game plan. You got it confidence. You're thinking about, okay, what's going on? We get a concussion. We get an injury. Next thing you know, he's out of the game. And now you're bringing in Skylar Thompson. No one we really even heard of. Other than I know he's a Kansas State guy. That's about all I know about him. So to me, you're on the road. It's a little bit more tougher. The atmosphere, the emotions going through, and what's happening during that game and how quickly things can swing. And I think it got to Miami a little bit and said, oh boy, this is trouble. And the next thing you know, Zach Wilson, who's back healthy, they score. They do their little Waddle dance for Waddle just to kind of stick it to him. And so now Miami starts chasing. But can you chase and come back in a game with a Skylar Thompson, a third string, when you're down like that on the road? Very difficult to do. And so, the Jets took it to him after that. And Solei's got them fired up, the head coach. He's got them, going in the right direction, defensive guy. And so right now the Jets, I'm not saying are contenders, but it's nice to see that the East has 4 teams like the NFC East trying to get 4 teams. Washington's a little struggling right now, but it's nice to see some parity in there. And I know you say, hey, wait a minute, Buffalo's way up there. Yep, they are. They beat a very poor Pittsburgh team right now who is really struggling. And Allen had his way with that team. And yes, they are the upper echelon in there. But then, of course, the Pats, Miami, and the Jets, those 3 together, it's nice to see that conference, I should say, the division is having some nice parity this year. And maybe either team can beat either team on any given day. That's what I think. And that's nice to see in the NFL.
Well, we've talked about before, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, and blah, 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 blah. But, how would he do, if you could somehow take this Buffalo team and move them back to when he was there and have a division with a not so easy Miami, not so easy New York Jets, and not so easy Buffalo Bills in there? Maybe you're not automatically in the AFC Championship game every year. And I'm not taking anything away from anybody. You have to play the way it happens. I mean, it's just the way the sun and the moon and the stars kind of lined up. And every year the AFC East was a joke. So it's going to be a much tougher road. But, I wanted to ask you, we mentioned that name Cooper, as in Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
What about Amari Cooper? He looked pretty good out there. I was watching him the other day, and I was thinking, oh, boy, he looked good in a Dallas uniform, back in a Dallas uniform, I should say.
Well, yeah, and the thing with that is you have 3 guys. You got Lamb, you got Gallup, and you got Cooper. Never mind, you got Zeke, you got Pollard, you got Dak. It's a business ball, and it's just tough to pay all those guys and be on the same page and have them all on one team. It's just very difficult. So the veteran is the one that took the hit, which is Amari Cooper, and he wants to be where he is, what he thinks he is. one of the elite wide receivers. So he went somewhere else, and we couldn't keep him. And so, we wish him the best, and he's done a good job right now in Cleveland. He's been kind of injured prone in the last couple of years. So if he can stay on the field for 17 games, of course he's going to help the Browns, and that's what they're paying him for.
All right, we got Roger from New Bedford on the line. Hello, Roger. You're on Santos on Sports.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Hey, I know you've been a Patriots fan for a long time, right? And watching that game yesterday, what did you think of that game, and what do you think about Zappe?
Hey, I'll tell you what. He's a good replacement for our quarterback, for at least for now. Mac Jones, he's going to be out. We don't know. We hope he's back this Sunday, but we're not sure he's going to be back. He looks like his last two games he's done well. Yesterday, their running game really bailed him out yesterday, I thought. He was pretty good. I think it was like 12 of 16 passes or something like that for 188 yards and a touchdown, but the running game carried him yesterday. I think, and this Judon, their offensive linebacker, Matthew Judon, he's having a great year. Their defense is getting better. I think can they make the playoffs? That's the question.
Roger, I'm sure you've coached for so many years, and that defense can really turn an offense around. And I thought yesterday that's what was big for the New England Patriots. It started with their defense, and they knew that they could get to Goff. They could do a lot of things. And I thought it opened the door for the offense of Zappe. Do you think that was pretty important for the New England Patriots to establish the defense first, get the run game going, then you could open Zappe to give him some confidence?
I think we we temporarily lost him for a second. So if you can
I'm back.
All right, if you can ask that question again, Chris.
Hey, Roger, I know you've coached for a long time, and yesterday's game defense was very important, which led to the offense starting with a good run game, and then you can get Zappe comfortable and unleash him a little bit. I thought the defense really, really carried the Patriots yesterday. Did you see that as well as you watched the game?
Yes. You talking to me, Chris?
Yes.
I sure am, Roger.
Yeah. Chris, their defense really carried them yesterday. No question about it.
Yeah. And it just makes the offense a lot easier to run and to produce when you have that in the back end. It's like in the softball days when, your defense was making everything and getting 1, 2, 3. And the next thing let's get that offense and, and let's get the bats going.
Right. So what do you guys think it's going to take them to get into the playoffs? They're not going to get that automatic like they've had for so many years in that conference this year.
Right.
I'm looking at maybe 10-7 might get them in as a wild card.
Yeah, we're certainly hoping so. I mean, Chris and I have talked so many times about this stretch of the schedule, which started with the Lions yesterday. Now we're talking about the Browns, the Bears, the Jets, the Colts, and the Jets again. But, it's almost like you got to run the table or almost run the table. But this little midsection of the season, Chris, right? I mean, it's almost a must.
I've said it, Paul, and I said it after the first 4 games. The next 4 to 6 are the most important because that's the opportunity for them to turn it around, get back above 500, get on a run, feel confidence with what you have on offense, feel confidence in what you have on defense, and then settle in for the late run and see what you can do twice with Buffalo. And then, of course, the rest of the schedule. So I think right now the next 4 to 6 are huge for the New England Patriots.
What do you think the chances?
I totally agree with you, Chris, on that. If they can go 4-2 these next 6 games, I think they're very winnable games.
Yep.
They need to go either 5-1 or 4-2. Anything worse than that will put them in a tough position because their last 6 games are going to be a lot tougher.
Oh, absolutely.
They can go 5-1 or 4-2 in the next 6 games, which I think is very possible. I think they'll have a chance.
I agree with you, Nat, but I think it's got to start with, obviously, to find out the consistency of which quarterback do you want to use. So I know it's going to be tough, and they're putting pieces of the puzzle in. But if Mac is ready to go and that's what you want, then go with it. If Zap's the guy you want and he's ready, then go with it. And I think that the team would like to have that instead of that changing every minute, changing different games, changing by quarter. I just think they need the consistency on the offense and from your best player, your leader, your quarterback.
Hey, Roger, can you envision a quarterback controversy? You know, if Zappe goes out there, I mean, again, it's the easiest part of the schedule. So I'm sure Mac Jones is sitting on the sidelines going, well, wait a minute, this guy's beating, you know, the Lions and the Jets and all this kind of stuff. And I had to play, you know, a tougher team like Baltimore, and it was a lot harder in Miami and stuff like that. So, you know, if he goes out there and Zappe gets on a little bit of a roll, right? Sometimes, you know, my view on that is, hey, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Let's kind of ride the wave. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first they're going to have to make sure that Mac Jones is fully healed and ready to come back before they bring him in. They don't want to bring him in this Sunday if they don't have to. But yeah, Bailey Zappe, he's a big surprise out of Oklahoma, right? He's come in there and done a good job. He's a great replacement for him. I don't think he's going to replace Mac Jones at this time because, you know, I think out of Alabama, Mac Jones, I think he's got a good future in the NFL. Yeah, it definitely could be a quarterback controversy, no doubt about it.
Suppose Zappe, you know, goes and wins like 5 in a row or something.
Well, that's it. Well, this is what happened. You know how the GOAT, Brady, how he got in there.
Yeah.
He got in there with an injury to Bledsoe, and he got in, he started winning games, and he lasted 20 years later. He's still winning games for the Patriots.
Now, Chris is going to say, I know what Chris is going to say, because we talked before. He's like, whoa, fella. You know, this guy ain't exactly, you know, Tom Brady. But, you know, Patriot fans, Chris, right? We just do what we do. We can't help ourselves.
We do. First, Roger.
He's a good replacement. I'm impressed with him. I never heard the name before until last week when he came in, and he had a good chance even to pull off the Green Bay game. They only lost that game by 3 points.
Yeah.
And Green Bay was a heavy favorite in that game.
Yeah, he's actually out of Western Kentucky. So, you know, not many people will know of Bailey Zappe because it's not a popular school that we watch on TV probably every Saturday, like Oklahoma. But that being said, it's someone, again, that we talked, me and Paul, that looked very similar. I thought Zappe looked compatible to Mac Jones in arm strength, in running, and obviously handling the offense. He looked poised. He looked confident. Again, it's not the greatest defense in the world, you know, in Detroit, but at the same time, it gives him some confidence to say, hey, I belong here. I can do this, and I'm going to get ready to go on the road and play in Cleveland and try to get a good road victory. So I think that's nice to see. And then you got to have that confidence, you know, in the other 10 people in that huddle. And so they can look up and say, this kid can do the job. And right now, I thought yesterday, it's a good start.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. He did play for Western Kentucky. I had him mixed up with a running back there, Raymonde Stevenson, who had one hell of a game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had something like 161 yards on 25 carries yesterday.
Sure did. 6.4 again.
He's the guy that's from Oklahoma that I got mixed up with.
There's no question when the defense is doing what they do, like Judon, you mentioned, Jack Jones, the linebackers, some of these guys, and then you combine that with, you know, the offensive line, the running game, Stevenson and Harris. Obviously, it makes the job easier for Bailey Zappe, no question about that. But let me ask you this, Roger, before we let you go. I know it's early. What kind of chance do you give the Pats at this point? Like, do you really think it's like a 50-50 to make the playoffs? Do you like their chances to make the playoffs? I mean, a lot has to happen, but looking at the schedule, I mean, if you were betting.
That's exactly what I think, Paul. I think you're right on the 50-50. They definitely can't go any worse than 4-2 the next 6 games. If they go 3-3, I think they're done.
And what do they have to do?
They've got a 3-3 looking schedule for the last 6 games, so I think they have to win at least 10 games to get into the playoffs.
How about Cleveland?
4-2 or 5-1 the next 6 games. I don't give them any chance of getting in this year.
Do you like them against Cleveland?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. They got a chance against Cleveland. They got the, like you said, the Jets. They got the Jets twice.
Mm-hmm.
They've also got.
You got the Colts.
Yeah.
not quite as good as we thought, and then the Vikings after that
In
before
Chicago, right?
The Bears,
Don't go to
Colts,
Chicago?
Jets, and Browns.
Yeah.
That's just there's 6 games. Well, they got two of them. 2 of the next 6 are with the Jets, and the Jets have been so good to the Patriots for so long.
and they still have the Bears, so you got to play Chicago too.
They got the Bears, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, well, Roger, really appreciate your contribution to our podcast, and maybe we can do it again.
No doubt.
All right.
Chris, nice talking with you, buddy. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Hey, Roger, thanks, pal.
All right, 774-762-6234. Santos on Sports, brought to you by Scotty's Pub, Citywide Glass, Lakeville Athletic Club, and John Seed, attorney at law. I was having a laugh because you know that when you turn on the Boston talk shows this week, oh, it's going to be Zappe this and Zappe that and zippity doo dah, and somebody had a sign, don't worry, be Zappe, and all this stuff, and they're chanting Zappe, 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 and he's got kind of a fun last name and everything, but as Chris said, like, hold our horses. I mean, I actually said before, I like Mac Jones. I probably like him better than most. I do think that having this new system come in kind of did him a little bit of a disservice. Maybe that's one of the things about Zappe is, Zappe didn't really get any reps really to speak of, last year, right? Before they changed everything around, before Josh McDaniels left and all that. So maybe actually that may have helped him a little bit in the sense that he's just coming in, he's going to do what Matt Patricia says and all that. And he really didn't experience this other way of doing things. So maybe Mac Jones is sitting on the sideline thinking, all right, okay, I got it now. I'm going to come back and be more of a good soldier now. So that may possibly be. Maybe having Mac Jones see this other guy come in and do well will be good for Mac Jones.
Yeah, and I hope he's sitting on the sidelines, taking notes and understanding more about that offense and what they want. So when it is time to get in there, he understands what the system really means and continues to move forward in his career. Paul, you're talking about 2 guys, and it's so difficult because you're taking over a spot that was occupied by the greatest quarterback of all time. And so people want like perfection right away. And that's so difficult. You know how much stress it's got to be on these 2 guys to say, hey, I'm the next quarterback. Yeah, they had Newton. I understand that. But, what was next to get into after Tom Brady? It is so difficult. I can't imagine what they're going through at times because you have to hear about it almost every week to say, well, why couldn't they be like Tom? You know how difficult that is? So for them, I give them all the credit in the world to step right in probably the top position in an organization that's had the best quarterback of all time.
All right, let's see. Let's go to Ryan and Mattapoisett. You got to be feeling good this morning.
Yeah, I was impressed yesterday. Chris, you were right. That number 1 offense was about as fraudulent as it
gets. Thank you, Ryan. Now I'm happy because I've been waiting for you to call because we talked about this last week. I think this was a little fraudulent phantom offense of the Detroit Lions. Stats sometimes don't mean that much, but I appreciate you coming on right away and letting me know about the Detroit Lions offense.
Yeah, more things change, the more they stay the same. They're still trash. But Jack Jones, two weeks in a row, man.
Oh.
I mean, hate to sound, jumping on that bandwagon too soon, but he's looking like J.C. Jackson right now. The way that he's freaking, seeing the ball, baiting guys into, making decisions. Oh, let's go throw at this guy, and then just making breaks onto the ball and picking the ball off. It's been ridiculous so far. I'm loving this kid.
No, I agree with you. And I told Paul earlier, and I'm sure you were listening, I still think that the defensive back is a position that Bill Belichick has had a lot of success in. He's had pieces of the puzzle moving in and out. And every time he puts something, they always seem to find the guy that really steps up and does a good job back there. And right now it happens to be this guy here. So hopefully he can continue on. And then you sit back and say, who's that other guy again? And right now it's working.
In the later rounds too, which surprises me. I find, when they spend more premium picks and stuff like that, it's usually the fail. But it's like it's always the later rounds, like the third to fourth round, stuff like that, where you see, you just get a gem every once in a while, but very impressive. And Zappe played pretty well, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Zappe because the Patriot fans are delirious. A guy comes in there, wins 29-0. Again, you had the great defense, you had a pass rush, you had the defense score a touchdown, and Matt Judon, and you mentioned Jack Jones and all that. The running game, Ramondre Stevenson, Harris, the offensive line playing great, which makes it so much easier for the quarterback, obviously. But looking at Bailey Zappe, I don't know, man. I think he looks pretty good. I really am having a hard time seeing much of a difference, if any, between him and Mac Jones when he's out there.
Well, I'll give it another game or two because again, the Detroit's defense was one of the worst in the league. But I will say this: hopefully through this stretch, I am hoping that at the very least Bailey Zappe can solidify himself as the permanent number 2 behind Brian Hoyer. Because I've said multiple times before, I've seen enough of Brian Hoyer around the league just to know what he is. So, who knows? Maybe if Bailey Zappe can live up to some backup potential, that'd be great.
Ryan, I never want to see, obviously, an injury, really hurt a guy. But I thought the injury to Harris gave an opportunity to really show that this Stevenson kid, and I've said it from day one, I think he's the better running back. I think he's much more aggressive going through the hole. He takes the hit on. He gets extra yards after the tackle. And I thought he really showed up yesterday and want to see him continue to move forward. And nothing against Harris. I think he plays well too. But I really, really like watching the Stevenson kid run.
I 200% agree with you. Ever since he was drafted, I was like, okay, we might have just gotten ourselves a more athletic version of LeGarrette Blount, because he's the most. I think he's the most powerful running back that we've had since Blount. The way that he could, something else that I think it's underrated about his game. I don't know if we saw it all that much yesterday because he ran for 160 yards. Right. But a lot of what he did over at Oklahoma, because I watched quite a bit of him because I'm a Sooners fan.
Yeah.
But he can catch the ball out of the backfield really well. But I just love the fact that he's a hard nosed, run through you kind of runner. And what was it, 16 carries for 160 yards or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. At the very least, he's solidified himself as really the 1A, 1B, whatever you call it. Mm-hmm. So if we don't end up re-signing Harris or what have you, and I hope he gets healthy soon, I'd say our future is pretty bright with this kid. I love him. I think he's better.
Hey, we actually saw Hunter Henry yesterday. He's alive and well. How about that? He made a couple of catches. I was so happy to see that.
Use the tight ends. Let's go. We're paying him all this money.
That's right.
All right. Well, Ryan, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully we can get a win against the Browns next week.
We'll see. Thank you guys for having me on again.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
774-762-6234. Okay, so let's see. I think we had a reference there that our cornerback there, Jack Jones, is almost like a Jackson. We got the quarterback, almost the second coming of Johnny Unitas. So we're just feeling real good this morning. It's kind of like what you done for me lately. Like if the Patriots blow a game, it's like, oh, I'm fans like that, Chris. Like, oh my God, we stink, we suck, we're terrible. Then you're like, you have one good game, and it's like, oh, this guy's great, that guy's great, this guy's great, that guy's great. Although Stevenson is definitely, there was a guy too. He was what they got him in what round did they get him? It was not that early. I think it was the third or the fourth or something.
Yeah, I'm not positive on that one. I'd have to research that one too. I'm sure Ryan would know that one. Being an Oklahoma Sooner fan. Sorry for that Red River rivalry loss on Saturday, Ryan. That beating against Texas. That's not the Oklahoma that we know, and just a bad game for them. But him coming out of there and him stepping up yesterday was really nice for Patriot Nation. And know that they got something in this guy who can really run hard and get through the tackles and move the chains when you really need it. So I hope Harris comes back healthy, but at the same time, I hope this kid makes a name for himself because he does impress me quite a lot when he's out there. So you get another guy that can maybe block during the blitzes. That will help. whether it's Zappe or Jones. You're going to need someone that can take on those linebackers when they're blitzing. But Paul, you're talking it's Detroit. Cleveland's up next. Jacoby Brissett, former Patriot, loves to run. Got to contain and maintain him, obviously, in the pocket because he can take off and go as well. But I think that you saw last year, we talked about the speed of the defense, and it was exploited by Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So to me, I'm not saying too much about this game because it's Detroit. I want to see that this defense, what I saw yesterday, does the same against some of those elite teams. And obviously Buffalo will be one of them, to see if they've improved from last year. That will get them better and hopefully win some of the bigger games against the better teams.
Yeah, it seems like the quarterback that can take off, has really been something that you see more and more in the NFL. I mean, years ago, every time they tried to do that, kind of bring that from college over to the NFL, it always seemed to fail. The running quarterback is going to get killed. It's never going to work. You got to do like Tom Brady, drop back in the pocket, and that's it, right? Mm-hmm. But you're seeing more of it. Now, I mean, at first it was kind of like when you saw it in Lamar Jackson, but now you see it in Josh Allen. You talked about Jacoby Brissett. Obviously, you see it with Skyler Murray there. There were guys that can really hurt you. You do everything right in those first 2 or 3 seconds after the ball is snapped, and then all of a sudden the thing breaks down, and then it's like 3rd and 8 or something. You do everything right, everything perfect. You got the pass rush, you get it. Then all of a sudden the play breaks down, and the guy runs for 10 yards and a first down. It's so backbreaking, and it's so discouraging when that happens. I agree with you. If they can, improve in that area, come up with some kind of a way to keep that guy in the pocket, you're going to have to do that because Buffalo's going to kill you if you can't do that.
Well, we saw it already once with Lamar Jackson when they played the Ravens and what he was able to do and get away and do, the things that he does. But Paul, you got kids coming out of college now who are more athletic, stronger, faster, and becoming quarterbacks instead of coming out of college where they are the quarterback, and trying to become an athlete. They're athletes turning into quarterbacks, some of them. And that's what's happening now in the college days. And so they're looking for that guy that wants to take off. They're looking for that big, strong that can take on some linebackers. But at the same time, he's able to throw the ball. Now, and I said to you against Lamar Jackson, I think he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a runner first. He'll worry about throwing second. And I watched him last night. And no offense, I did not think he looked good last night. He missed some wide open wide receivers sitting back in the pocket. When he took off and rolled right, took off and rolled left, it draws attention. Then he makes some passes, and it looked easier for him to do. So if he can settle in, and the same thing with Kyler Murray. Watched him yesterday against the Eagles. He was running all over the place as well. He never looked comfortable when he sat in the pocket. And that's what Josh Allen does so well. Plus, he's a bigger quarterback, taller. Hebert, kind of the same thing. Now, Hebert's not that much of the athletic, I'm going to take off and run as Josh Allen is. But Allen's so big, and he can stay in there and see the field. And he made 2 throws yesterday over 50 yards. And I mean on a dime. Right there, perfect passes. And then he can take off and run as well. So right now, he's the upper echelon of all quarterbacks right now.
Tell you, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, I was watching some of their games. Oh, it was like a machine. They were almost toying with their opposition. I mean, are they that much better than everybody else? I mean, obviously they got to produce in the playoffs and the chips are on the table and the pressure mounts and all that. They still have to prove that. But wow, I mean, out of all the teams in the NFL, there are very few teams that look as well polished and like a well-oiled machine like the Buffalo Bills.
They are taking care of teams that they should, and they're doing it in a tremendous fashion. They're really coming after them, whether it's on defense or whether obviously it's what Josh Allen does. But when they got a team below 500, and right now Pittsburgh is not very good. They need to find some identity. And Mike Tomlin says, I may have to blow up this ship and make a lot of moves. He just said it yesterday. So when they have that schedule and that team comes in, they are taking no prisoners. They are coming after you, and they are attacking from both sides of the ball, and they are dominating. And it kind of reminds me of what the Patriots used to do with Brady and they had those lower teams. They wasted no time, and they just took it to them.
Well, we got our favorite 49ers fan on the line. Chops from New Bedford. Chops, how's it going?
It's going great, man. How you doing this morning?
Yeah, good. I don't want to talk about the 49ers yet. I want to talk about Zappe. What do you think about Zappe? I mean, we got a quarterback controversy over there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think he looked better than the other guys, man.
Really? You think so? Better than?
I know so.
Really? You think he looks better than Mac Jones? Is that right?
I think he does. Oh yeah, I thought he did a great job, tremendous job. I mean, I'm not a Patriots fan, but I'm a football fan, so I like football, and I think he did a great job from what I saw yesterday.
Well, I like your opinion because actually, by not being a New England fan, it might be easier for you because I'm getting all caught up in this Zappe happy thing over here. So he seemed to have a lot of poise and a lot of good decision making.
Oh yeah, he seemed like he had a little poise, man. He handled himself very well in the pocket. Detroit ain't no slouch team. They're all professional players, so he did a good job, man. I was watching the game yesterday. I thought Detroit should have made some key plays, but they missed them, And but they were on point, man. The better team wins.
So, Chris, we getting caught up in this a little too much here?
No, I listen, it's nice because I can agree with Chops, and I'm not a New England fan, but I watch them every week, and I know what's going on, I'm not going to say there's some controversy just yet. I like to see what this young man can do on the road, which is a lot more difficult than being at home, and show a little bit more leadership, and then see how the games flow. But at the same time, how long is it going to take before Matt comes back? I mean, could that ankle be ready this week? And if they say, okay, well, let's make the move now, or is it going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks? So that's tough to determine if there's controversy, depending on how fast Matt can heal. But as for Chops, if San Fran keeps doing what they're doing and Dallas keeps doing what they're doing, let's meet in the playoffs, Chops. Let's meet in the playoffs.
All right, what about those 49ers? Let's get the I want to get the 49ers take.
Hey, they finally got the blueprint, man, on defense, man. It seems like they're getting it, man. They're gelling as a defense, man. That's the part because I'm a defensive ex-defensive player, free safety, and so they finally tightened it up on that defense. Finally, it looks good. But I look at it this way. Every game has to be, it's like me being singing. Every night has to be better than the next night. Every game has to be better than the next game. That's how you think of it when you're out there on the field. We beat them this week. Next week we got to play even better. Then the following week we got to be even better the next week. So that's the way I think of it.
Well, they say defense wins championships. I know Chops are always talking about the defense. So obviously, defense, San Francisco has got one of the better defenses in the league right now, and it's paying off.
Oh yeah, man! Number one defense, according to what they're saying, the number one defense. And I think you got in order to have a great offense, you got to have a great defense. So that's just how football is.
Chops, let me ask you.
The Patriots did very good, man, because he seemed like he had a lot of, like you said, poised. He was very poised. He went out the pocket well. I saw him throwing a lot of screens and doing a lot of great things, man. You can only be tested when you're playing against a great team. I mean, Detroit is okay, but they're not the 49ers, or they're not the top teams. But he did well. We'll see how he does against the top team.
All right, Chris has got a question for you.
Yeah.
Chops, let me ask you this question. Listen, was it a blessing in disguise that Trey Lance actually got hurt? Because could you see San Fran doing the same things that they're doing now under Trey Lance and not Jimmy G?
When he went down, man, it was like shock. I was shocked.
Yep.
And it could have been, unfortunate that he got hurt.
Yep.
And Jimmy G came in. I think Jimmy G is a good quarterback, but he probably sometimes you need to, like when the coach takes you out, you sit down, you think about your mistakes.
They had it last year, but Jimmy G made some key mistakes on offense last year. So I think, like you said, it might be a blessing in disguise. That's true. Could be a
Now,
blessing.
do you still see you still see Trey Lance as your future quarterback?
Oh yeah, I think Trey Lance is a good quarterback. He still needs he needs some work. He needs some work. I mean, he's a great runner, but great running quarterback. But I think he needs some work too.
Okay.
All right, Chop. So we'll see you tonight for the Paul Santos live show at 7 o'clock.
Thank you guys for calling. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Chop.
Chops Turner, Mr. San Francisco 49er. Yeah, that's his team. And really, let's see. We got a couple of comments here. El Product, the gentleman that we get on from Boston, he says Zappe is much better. He then said, I told you all last week the third string quarterback is the guy. The proof is in the pudding. Leave Mac on the bench. Oh, baby. Wow.
Well, there you go, Paul. You're asking people to call in or write in what they think of Zappe. There's one for you there. Leave Mac on the bench and ride with this guy. So let's see if Bill thinks the same thing as our caller. So that will be quite interesting. And if he continues to do what he does, why not?
We're very happy to have everybody making some comments here tonight. Let's see. Ryan added one in here.
Yeah.
He mentioned that the London game was fantastic yesterday. Dayball has really instilled some fight in those Giants. Yeah, the Giants have come out of nowhere.
Yeah. The team I hate the most, unfortunately. But as a Cowboy fan, just not an Eagle and Giant fan at all. So, but yeah, good steps. And you have to give Daniel Jones a lot of credit. Kid showed a lot of heart yesterday and played well out in London. And a good win, yes, for the Giants. Rodgers had his chance at the end there and couldn't pull it off. I just don't think that the Green Bay Packers have the receivers. You think he's missing Devontae Adams right now? I sure think he is, because he's just not got the weapons that he would like. And he's even come out and said, this may determine the future for me about the rest of my teammates and what I have moving forward. And if he's not happy with him, I think he kind of retires.
All right, I can't let this comment go by. The proof's in the pudding. Leave Mac on the bench without getting El Product from Boston on the line.
All right.
El Product, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. Well, you know it. I told you guys. Did I call it out?
The proof's in the pudding, you said.
Proof's in the pudding, man. Sometimes you could be the jack of all trades, but the master of nothing. You know? I told you guys he had it. I said he has the eye of the tiger, the team spirit. He has it. And as soon as he got out there, he was talking to the offensive line, the defensive line. He was doing stuff I see Tom Brady do.
Whoa.
Wow.
All right,
Chris. He went out there and he was talking to everybody. Come on, let's go. And what happened? Shutout game.
That baby, shut those guys right down. I'll tell you right now.
Shutout game.
Wait a minute, you said
sometime with these teams, that one eye of the tiger. Come on, it's not over.
All right, you said
Tom did it. Tom did it, and I always bring this up to use this as an analogy. Tom did it when we was playing Atlanta. It's not over.
You said leave Mac on the bench. You said in your comment, leave Mac on the bench.
Yeah, I got to leave Mac on the bench right now. Get your knee ready, you know. Continue working on your lineups. I like the way whoever's doing his lineups and grooming them, man, he's doing a good job.
All right.
I say stay sharp over there. With that right now, rest your knee because the new kid's in town.
New kids in town, baby. All right, hang on a second. I want to. This is good stuff here. This is good stuff. I want to get Chris's response.
Wow. Listen. So you're telling me that when Mac's ankle is all healed and ready, you leave him on the bench and you keep Zappe. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not going to change my alternator if it don't need to be fixed.
Okay, so let's say it's not this week. Let's say it's 2 weeks from now, and Zappe loses in Cleveland, but they beat Chicago, so he goes 1-1, and Mac's now ready to go. Do you keep Zappe in, or does Zappe have to continue to keep winning, and Mac stays on the bench?
He got to continue to keep winning.
Okay,
you know what I mean.
So if he doesn't win,
to keep that starting spot.
Right. So if he doesn't win, now it's time to put Mac back in.
Yeah, then it's time to go back to the quarterback controversy. Hey,
all right, there you go, Paul, right there.
Till then. But
the guy's got him as the
now,
next Tom Brady, but if he doesn't win, he wants to yank him.
The fans are saying it, the commentators are saying it, New England's saying it. I'm not going to go against the grain.
Yep.
All right, now we're just about ready to wrap it up here, but I know you were trying to yank Chops' chain a little bit when Chops was talking about, back when he was playing and all that, and you typed in, did Chops play Little League football back in the day or something?
Yeah, I had to get Chops because I ain't seen no highlights with Chops. So, and I seen him with the music, but not the football. So I had to throw a little jab in there for Chops.
Oh, no,
I'm listening.
Yeah,
he are tuned in.
I'll tell you, he played on a flag football team, and he was like the Ronnie Lott. And I guess they won I'm pretty sure they won a national championship or something. So he had some good vision out there on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, Chops seen it. He know football.
He no joke. All right, hey, thank you very much. I like this. When I saw this proofs in the pudding, leave Mac on the bench, I'm like, I want to hear a little more about this. But thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon, El Product.
All right, enjoy your night, guys.
Yeah, bye. The proof is in the pudding, baby. The proof is in the pudding. Well, but see what you were saying about if he goes 500, then okay. Well, if he goes 500 and he wins sometimes and he loses sometimes, then you can't really make the if it isn't broke, don't fix it argument. I think it has to be like, hey, they won. All right, he won. All right. Oh, gee, he won again. All right. Oh, gee, he won again. That's when I think, if he's winning every other game, then I think that's different. Then I think you got to go back to your main guy then. You know what I'm saying?
Paul. He had him as the next Tom Brady. and all of a sudden, if he loses a game, he wants to yank him and put Matt back in. If you got him as the next Tom Brady, then you got to ride him for the rest of the season.
I think that
one extreme to the other. If you got him the next Tom Brady.
That analogy probably wasn't really but I think it's just that this guy's playing, this guy gets hurt, the other guy comes in and he's better. Wow. So that
it's just this is like the Raiders, just win, baby.
Cooper Rush, baby. Cooper Rush, baby. Leave him in there. Hey, is Dak going to be ready this week?
That's still to be determined. Now, personally, if he's starting to come back and getting, I don't know if I would put him up against the Eagles. I would keep with Cooper and say, hey, let it see how this pans out here. I don't say I would throw him against, the team that's undefeated right now in the NFL, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'd be really worried about how they're going to handle this. I don't think he will be, and I think Cooper gets the start, but it will be interesting to see.
All right, one quick question. We're going a couple minutes over, but this last thing. Do you think the Eagles are for real?
I do, because I think they have playmakers on offense, and I think that their defense has gotten better than what it has in the past, which keeps them right where they want to be in the game. I think Dallas is going to really have to make sure they win the turnover battle and obviously the flags, and make sure that they don't commit too many penalties. So that they got to make sure mentally they're in that game if they have a chance to pull the upset off.
All right, so think about this for a second. First game of the season, Eagles 38, Lions 35. Just barely sneak by that.
Yeah, but they were crushing them into the fourth quarter.
Patriots 29, Lions nothing.
Yeah. Like I said, that means statistics mean absolutely nothing, because the Eagles were winning that game like 38-13 or something. And then they just let, Detroit come back and do their thing at home, and made some plays. And so it means to me that you can take into film and say, hey, we can score on them. We just got to find a way to slow down Jalen Hurts, another running quarterback. And he ran for 2, I believe, maybe even 3 yesterday in the win over Arizona.
The Patriots wiped the floor with the same team that the undefeated Eagles just barely beat, like by that much. What is that? That's got to mean something, doesn't it?
Well, you think what you want. I'm just worried about my division rival game. Right. Hopefully, if we can compete like we did yesterday, I'll be happy.
All right. Our thanks to attorney John Seed, 156 8th Street, New Bedford, johnseedlaw.com, for being our sponsor, as well as Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in Lakeville, Citywide Glass, 3 locations, Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton, and Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street in Fall River. All right. That was a fun show. I knew that this we love these little controversies over here. I think you're going to hear this all week. You're going to hear these these Zappe, happy people, you know.
Oh, sure.
So just hold your horses.
Yep.
One game at a time. Got to beat Cleveland.
At Cleveland.
At Cleveland. So that's do you like the Patriots in that game?
I still like them. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Very good. Well, thank you for your comments and your contributions. Really had a fun show today. And of course, we're all feeling good. The Cowboys are winning. The Patriots are winning. So all's right with the world. I'm Paul Santos for Chris Santos, Santos on Sports. Have a great week. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.
See you, everybody.